Hello, my name is Caleb Mucher, and I will be presenting my critical book review for The Discoverers by Daniel J. Boorstin. If you don't know history, then you don't know anything. You are like a leaf that doesn't know it's part of the tree. Quote by Michael Crichton. Daniel J. Boorstin was an illustrious man, a true and fine gentleman. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1914, and went on to graduate from the University of Harvard, where after he got a full ride scholarship from the Rhodes Scholarship and earned his law degree at Oxford University. And after that, he completed his doctorate in Yale. All of these three very prestigious colleges. Now, this review is not meant to focus on Boorstin himself, but I do believe it is wise to understand a person's character in order to properly assess their content. And you can quote me on that. When we look at Boorstin's achievements, we see that he is a very intelligent and a very credible man, as you can see from his many different works he's published, and his trilogy that The Discoverers is the first installment of. We can see his intelligence by the fact that he was accepted into 3 different very high colleges and actually had a full ride in the second one. And we can see his credibility through Discoverers specifically. When you cross-reference it with other histories, you see it is very valid and true, and the only things that differ, of course, are opinionated-based things. And The Discoverers has been very informational and surprisingly eye-opening for me, actually. We've only gotten a third of the way through the book so far this semester, and I've learned so much about things I never knew before, specifically about very prestigious explorers like Marco Polo, like Columbus, Eric the Red, and Prince Henry, and many others like them. I've also learned a lot about time measuring units and technology, how it's advanced. I never knew how to use a water clock, a sun clock, or even incense burning clock until I read The Discoverers and we did the projects on those. And I never knew the importance of the advancement from a sundial to a water clock, where sundials wouldn't work in the night and they had no idea how to calculate until the sun came up what time it was. And I also really enjoyed and had a lot of time learning about our navigational technology advancements, from where we started just looking at stars and exploring that way, and then eventually became compasses, and now we use our technology such as radar and other things like that for directional technology. And I also loved a lot of his stories. One of them specifically was one of the Mongols and the Khans. The fact that they were very brutal, but brutally efficient in their way of tactically taking over a lot of Asia and paving the way for a lot of exploration there. But also the contrast between chapters 16 and 17, where the Mongols, and specifically Kublai Khan, was very gracious and respectful to Marco Polo and the missionaries who went over for the Mongols. But fortunately, or unfortunately, take it as you will, I am not just here to praise Daniel Boorstin. He had his boring moments too. In fact, he had very dry sections. A lot of times you'd read through a chapter and have a very exciting moment, only for it to drop off onto a very dry section. For instance, when we were talking about Prince Henry and his sponsorship of exploration around Africa to Asia for faster trades. It was very exciting, very awesome, very cool explorational story, and then it kind of, on a paragraph right after all this excitement, it drops off onto describing the weight of the ship and the cargo it carries and the trading that was going on, and all of these very analytical things that make me feel like I'm reading a math textbook. And for a high schooler such as myself and my classmates, we agree that it's very boring at some times, and it's hard to read. It's almost makes you want to fall asleep. And it's not even just some parts, it's whole chapters at times. But despite this, these dry stretches, Boorstin's work is very impressive. And I also appreciate the fact that he brings in small tidbits of history, such as maybe the water clock that no one ever really remembers, and other things like that that no one really thinks about, but that they're very important. These small details are very, very important, and the fact that he brings those details in doesn't make it a perfect book. But Leonardo da Vinci, says it the best, that details make perfection, and perfection is not a detail. So with that being said, I think Daniel Boorstin's Discoverers is a fantastic book. Of course, everything can be improved, but the details make it amazing.